to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Each member is acknowledging that they are attending the meeting via Zoom and that they are located in Wayne County, Michigan, unless otherwise stated when I call your name. Commissioner Varga, Commissioner Baidoon,
Here.
Commissioner Basham,
Here.
Commissioner Palomera,
Here.
Chair Bell,
Here.
Commissioner Varga. You have a quorum present.
Thank you. And we'll acknowledge the time when Commissioner Varga is able to get in. She's having technical difficulties. Next item, please.
Approval of the January 19th, 2021 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Been moved. Is there support? Moved and supported. Supported by Vice Chair Palomera.
Yes.
Any discussion, deletions to the minutes? Corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain?
Motion
Okay.
carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Chair's remarks.
Good morning again, everyone. Just want to let everyone know that at the top of every term, we go through and we look at our rules to see if there are any amendments that should be included or any changes to them. So this is the time that we are doing that for the 21-22 term. Thank everyone who's on the meeting today. We have a few proposals and a few cleanup items. So I look forward to a hearty discussion as we determine our rules for this term. Next item, please.
Old business, there is none listed. We're moving to item E1 under new business, discussion on the proposed amendments to the Wayne County Commission Rules of Procedure for 21-22.
Okay, so our attorney Felicia normally goes through the rules with us, and there are sometimes some cleanup items to take place. So she's gone through and found a couple of cleanup items that she'd like to propose. If you could put that on the screen, please. And then Felicia, I'll turn this portion over to you.
Again, good morning, everyone. So as Chairwoman mentioned, most of the revisions you'll find in the book this year are just cleanup. There's not as, when I'm not proposing as many revisions as in years past. Because they're cleanup, I'm gonna move fairly quickly through some of them because it'll be like adding the word the. If I'm moving too fast, just someone slow me down. So
okay, thank you. Council, 1 second, I just want to acknowledge that Commissioner Varga has joined the meeting. Thank you, go ahead.
Okay, so as you'll see on page 1 in the first paragraph, we just added the word the that was missing, and on line 21 added person to the end of chair. So the next revision is on page 3. So if we can move to page 3, please. And this is regarding the Open Meetings Act. And again, this is cleanup. So you'll look on line 10. And what the current rule and the law requires is that it allows members of the public to not only tape record, videotape, and broadcast our meetings. Right now, our rules say that you can broadcast live on radio and television, but we know with technology, now it can be done through the internet and social media. So just to take it out so we're more consistent with the current state of the law, I simply took out radio and television so that we don't appear to be limiting what the public can do. If you look at line 17, it talks about starting on 16, a person may request to address the committee on any matter on the agenda. Well, and I know that some commissioners say this in their meetings, but the law under Open Meetings Act says that the public has a right to address the body. It doesn't limit the topic. This may give some commissioners the impression that public comments are limited to the agenda, and some commission chairpersons have said that. So I thought it would be best just to clarify it and clean it up so we're more consistent again with the law. Here on line 21, I just changed constituent to person because obviously that's not limited to just constituents, it's limited to anyone, media, anyone who happens to attend. So that is page 3. I'll pause briefly just in case there's a question. The next change is on page 5. Here, we're just changing the word on line 4, changing it from actions to votes, just to clarify what I'm talking about, just to make sure people understand that during closed session, we don't take votes. So I just wanted to be more clear in my wording. So we changed action to votes.
Mhm.
The next change is on page 8. And that was just a typo in that line. I have no idea what was there and what it was supposed to say. So just took it out to clarify.
You know,
Hold on,
may I?
Commissioner Basham?
Well, you talked about, in closed session, you went from action to votes.
Yes.
We actually do take a vote to go out of closed session.
That's a good point.
I know
How about votes on action items?
That sounds better.
But then action didn't work either. So now I'm thinking out loud.
But we do vote.
How about I say votes may not be taken, because even action, a vote is still an action. So votes may not be taken in closed session except to leave. So if I add to the end of that sentence and say something like, except to
Exit
In
closed
closed
session.
session.
to terminate the closed session. So let me
Yeah.
write this in my little notes. Give me
Okay.
2 seconds.
Or even procedural votes could be a
I agree.
option.
Votes on.
Okay, how about I
votes
say
on
this?
items.
Decision on items may not be made in a closed meeting. Does that work better?
Decisions on items.
We could have a procedural matter, but we know the law says that we cannot make decisions. So all of those votes must be taken.
I personally liked what Joe said. You could repeat that.
No, but I think Felicia fixed it with what she said, which is I think she said on items or action items or items on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay. All right. Yep. I'm good with that.
Can you repeat your sentence, Felicia?
So votes may not be taken on, I could say items on the agenda.
On agenda items?
Yep. Yep.
Votes may not be taken on agenda items in closed meeting?
During
Okay.
closed meetings. That sounds better, yeah.
Okay. I am making the change on agenda items. Okay, so votes may not be taken on agenda items in closed session.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the new sentence for that.
All right.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. Thank you.
Again, we were on page 8, and that was just, I'm not sure why that word was there. I think it was left over probably from a previous change. And then we capitalized C in chairperson. The next change is on page 12, took out all in that one sentence on line 20, just because it's not accurate to say that no travel comes out of office budget. Some travel comes out of office budget, some doesn't. Wanted to be more accurate, so simply took out the word all. Doesn't change the policy as the way the commission operates. So that was page 12. The next change is on page 14, line 17. You'll see that we took out the word the, that shouldn't have been there, just a grammatical piece. Page 15, the next change is on page 18, added some commas. 19, added some commas. Page 20, added the word to line 9, just because it is grammatics. Just make sure it's grammatically correct. The next change is
And also vote and
I'm on page 28.
maintain.
Okay, Yes, so right now the rules say that the commission clerk shall announce the vote and maintain and print copies of the official records. Again, in just technology, we don't necessarily print things. We are moving towards keeping things electronically. So I took out print and just said maintain. So she'll continue to maintain, but not necessarily in print form. Again, moving with technology. And the next change is on page 32, I believe. And here, so we recently, I just wanted to update some of the names of the entities that some of the committees like Health and Human Services interact with. So before it said the Mental Health Authority, but they changed their name to the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network, changed the name of the HHS committee to be more accurate to what we currently call it. Department to what we currently call it, took out Head Start because the county got rid of Head Start a few years back. So just again, updates for GovOps. Again, changed the name of the Human Relations Division to reflect what it actually is under the current reorg, which is Human Relations and Business Inclusion. So again, just updates to the current names of the various entities and departments. You'll find similar on page 33. You'll find the same for economic development. We do have an economic development department now. So added economic development department. I wasn't sure what the work development board was. I couldn't find it, but I believe it's a part of actually SIMCA or SAGA. And because I looked it up, and so it's still incorporated unless someone tells me they know exactly what it is. I couldn't find it. I know that again, the Southwest Government Alliance has a workforce board, but it wasn't called workforce development, but they have a workforce committee. Never heard of that. I've been on here, so unless someone knows, doesn't prevent if something comes up from chairwoman referring it to the committee, but hadn't seen anything referenced to it in quite some time. So I just took it out unless someone objects.
Okay, that's fine.
On page, the next one revision would be on page 36. Now this is under our existing committee and task force rules. And this is more of a substantive revision, and maybe the only substantive revision in here. And it says on lines 5 and 6 that a meeting may be adjourned by the committee chair without a vote unless there is an objection by a committee member. And let me explain why I added this, because we have a discrepancy in how we end meetings for our committees. Some committee chairpersons actually take votes to adjourn. Some say that without objection, they'll adjourn. These rules provide that a full board meeting can be adjourned without objection. So the chairperson of the commission can adjourn the full board meeting unless there's an objection of a member. I'm doing the same for committees, and that way, hopefully I can get all the committees and chair people to be consistent. So I am proposing this unless there is an objection.
Is there an objection to this language being added by any of the commissioners?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, so then obviously just renumbering the next substantive change, renumbering on page 37, renumbering on page 38. At the bottom of 38, just put the word the and capitalize O for ordinance. Page 39. So under rule 32, which talks about public hearings, again, just because of the way things are even now with electronic meetings, some of these rules have changed. So I took out that last sentence, but if you notice, the sentence before that says that the clerk shall publish and post in accordance as required by law. So we're still doing everything required by law, but we're getting rid of the specifics because, again, in recent years, or last year anyway, things have changed. So just deleting that, but doesn't change the fact that we'll comply in accordance with law as stated in the prior sentence.
Okay.
The next change is on have a change on page 46, just added the word the in line 4, it was missing. The next change after that is on page 48. Okay, so I added line 24 and 25. I actually added this to be more accurate when it talks about motions. So this rule talks about if the We're at full board meeting. There's an item on the agenda. The department's not present. We move the item to the end of the agenda in order for a department member to present themselves and to appear at the meeting. Now, as currently written, it says that if the department representative does not come, then we automatically pass it for the day. Well, we haven't always done that as a commission. So I just want to give more leeway for where actions can be taken. So I just added, unless a different motion is offered, seconded, and approved. That way there's flexibility for what the body may or may not do.
And that's more accordance to practice anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any discussion on that piece? That's fine. Like I said, that just puts in writing what we typically do anyway. So, okay.
And the next one is on on page 53. Yes. So here, and I don't know why this wasn't in here. So we talk about our rules. And so this says that if our rules don't address something, then obviously we rely on the Constitution, the statutes, and the charter. And if those aren't addressed, do not address the issue at hand, then we go to Robert's rules. We very rarely go to Robert's rules. I'm not sure if we've ever relied on Robert's rules, but it wasn't clear to me why statutes was taken out of that or wasn't included. So I just wanted to be more clear and thorough and accurate. So I just added statutes in addition to the Constitution and the charter.
Constitution, statute, Wayne County Charter, Commission rules. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So that's a more complete and thorough list now.
Okay.
The next change is on page 57. Again, this is on line 20, just being more accurate. This is the rule with regards to ordinance and ordinance procedure. And this particular sentence says that all ordinance require a majority of vote to pass, but that's not accurate. Even these rules indicate that if we have an emergency ordinance, we do it by 2/3 votes. So there are certain circumstances or something that's immediate effect requires more votes. So this is just saying unless the law, the charter, or the rules provide otherwise, because indeed there are circumstances where a mere majority is not sufficient. So I just wanted to be more accurate. Again, same change with line 27, just trying to be more accurate with how we actually proceed. The next change and I'm looking, that may be it. Okay, and that was all of the changes. My last comment is that when we make the motion to approve these, I also ask that motion includes authority to update the table of contents. I always give you a table of contents, but I don't produce it until I actually have all the revisions, so I don't have to do it more than once. I just ask that the motion include that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Felicia. Any questions on the changes proposed by Commission Council? And her
So moved
cleanup?
as proffered. I'll make the motion, subject to the table of contents changes as referenced.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to accept this as presented. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Varga,
Yes.
Commissioner Baydun,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Commissioner Palomero,
Yes.
Chair Bell,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, now also in everyone's packet, there were proposals by commissioners. One proposal by Commissioner Varga. You want to state this, Commissioner Varga?
I'm thinking that because of productivity, that if the technology would be available after we are back at the Guardian building or holding open meetings as usual, that we would allow the departments to zoom in or do it electronically if the technology is there. I always thought that it was kind of unproductive for people who are on Wayne County payroll to sit in the audience for until the end of the agenda, from beginning to the meeting to the end of the agenda, and then they have to go back to work again, where if they could just call in, they could continue, or if they could Zoom in or whatever, if they could attend electronically in some form, if available, that would be more productive to the county as a whole. I'm not really wedded to it. It's just an idea that I wanted to throw out there. I think it would make more sense than having people, even after COVID is relieving us a little bit, that we don't have as many people sitting in the audience with us. If available, technology may not be available anyways to do it, but that was my thought behind it. I'm okay either way.
Okay, any discussion on this? I mean, I think that the big caveat there is if the technology is available, and what that looks like. And that may be something going in the future based on living through the pandemic and how we've had to readjust how we do business. This may be one of those things that permanently stay if we're able to do it. And that would take some coordination with our IT department to see how we could do that. So any comments from any commissioners? Let me see who I have in the, let me go through the Rules Committee members first. Anyone on the Rules Committee have any comments on it? Chair Palomero?
Yes, and I see Commissioner Basham has his hand raised. I don't know that our rules prohibit that right now because they're only presenting. They're not making any votes. So I think we would allow that or could allow that without it being written into the rules on a big if. I don't know that we have any rules that have an if as a caveat attached. So I think departments could present if the technology is there, but I don't know that it needs to be written in the rules per se. That's just my thought on this.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Basham?
It must be a downriver thing, but I absolutely agree with Commissioner Palmera on that. But just to be the devil's advocate, again, I like doing that. A lot of times we are pretty active in the district and it gives us an opportunity to bring up issues that we've been working on. Sometimes it, like, for example, DPW engineer will show up and we can talk about other things in the background. There's always a reason to have a slight or a longer conversation with the folks who show up, certainly from our district. So, but I agree with Joey. If sometimes you might have to, do them by Zoom if the technology's there, but to write it in the rules is something I'm not real crazy about.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Varga?
I'll withdraw that one.
Okay. And before you withdraw, I see we have a couple of commissioners joining us. They have their hands up.
I have.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Baydoun, and then Commissioner Baker McCormick and Commissioner Dobb. Go ahead, Commissioner Baydoun.
Madam Chair, once we resume our normal meetings by attending in person, are we going to look into the possibility of adding the Zoom capabilities? Let's say one of the commissioners is out of town but would like to join the meeting. Are we going to have that option?
Now that is a good legal question, and I think there's something in the in the state law. Felicia, help me out. Is there something in the state law that says if you're going to be counted for, like have your votes count, that you have to be in person?
Yes,
Go ahead,
that is
Felicia.
accurate. That is accurate, Madam Chair. So when the state law expires to allow for virtual meetings, that means that in order to participate in the meeting or for your vote to count, you would have to be present in the physical location. So while you could potentially view it, you could not actively participate in it.
So, but can you not attend the meeting? as a commissioner, can you not attend the meeting, but you won't have the ability to vote? I mean, I'm just brainstorming with you guys here. This is new uncharted territories for us, obviously.
Right. So the Open Meetings Act applies essentially to the body, to the members of the
Okay.
body, not to the public and the department. So it would really be just the members of the body. So yes, you could view the meeting potentially virtually to keep up on it, but your vote definitely would not count. I do think that I would have to do some research because there may be a legal question regarding whether you could participate but not vote. That's something I would have to look into and get back to you, but you definitely could not vote as a commissioner if you're not present.
Okay.
And these are state laws. So if we, wanted to do something differently, we would have to lobby our state legislature to amend the Opens Meeting Act. So, and maybe they would. I mean,
this
we're in
pandemic
different
has
times.
changed us forever. So
Yeah.
I'm
So,
sure you could see something like that coming.
yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Commissioner Baydoun addressed the question I had. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Dobb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support Commissioner Varga's proposed rule. I think that having the electronic option for departments to participate in our meetings will increase efficiency and excuse me. Also, if we could add the option for the public to attend electronically, I've heard from a lot of my constituents saying that they like the Zoom option because they can actually attend our meetings now. They don't have to, come downtown during the day. They can just participate in the meetings from the comfort of their own home. So I completely support Commissioner Varga's proposed rule.
Okay. Well, let me let everyone know that, and Tim Johnson's on the phone as well. We've been working in the new meeting environment. So we've been talking to Hector. We've been brainstorming on how we can do this. I don't know, Tim, if you want to make a comment at this time about where you are with this, and Hector. Tim. Okay, so we have, I don't know what Tim is, but we've been talking through this. So I guess the point that Commissioner Vice Chair Palomera and Commissioner Basham made is that we can do this without putting in the rules. And I think that's why Commissioner Varga withdrew it, because this is something that we can do without actually putting it in the rules. And again, we are actively working on what that looks like. Tim, you're off of mute now. You want to speak to this?
Sorry about that, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we're looking at how we can marry our new video cameras with the Zoom technology and our ability to go on YouTube. So we submitted a service request for Hector. We've had discussions with them, and they're talking with Blue Water and some other vendors to see what we would need to do to make this happen.
And to further add to that, we also have a meeting next week on the 19th with the Blue Water representatives where we can further discuss this matter.
Yeah. So I've been working on this only because I knew at some point we would be required to come to the building. But still, with the pandemic out there, I didn't really want everyone else to have to come to the meeting, to the building. So I've been working on this for a few weeks now with staff. So that is something I think would be beneficial. But as soon as we can work that out with Blue Water and Hector, at least that gives us the option to do that. And again, still in this environment that we're in right now, where, we're getting vaccinated and, the numbers are going down, but we may not feel comfortable about having so many people in the chambers. And the fact that people have really enjoyed being able to watch it on Zoom that we've been doing for the last few months, our constituents. So we're working on it, but Commissioner Varga has withdrawn her amendment. So we will honor that and know that we are working on making it something that we can just move forward to in this new environment that we've been thrust into.
I just sent it forward, Madam Chair, so we wouldn't forget to talk about it.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. And that is very important. Like I said, we're in a new a new way of doing things now, and that's just going to be part of how we operate. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing on that. I think we all agree with you on that and support you on that effort.
Yep. So it may be a little interesting because we may have to have a screen, a big screen put up somewhere in the chamber so that people can see us and we can see them. But again, I'm letting the technology people figure that piece out on what it looks like. So, okay. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have another proposed amendment to the rules by Commissioner Baker McCormick. Commissioner Baker McCormick, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is actually a amendment that I proposed 2 years ago when I first became a commissioner. And now Commissioner Dobb has joined me in this effort. And this is really simply just to ensure, no matter who the chair is of a meeting, that the public's voice will be and can be heard before we vote on any new items or old items. It will allow us to have public comments early in the meeting on any issue that will be voted on or addressed in the meeting. And as it reads here, under public comments, it would come after the chair's report, and the public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person or the time allotted by the chair. There shall be no dialogue with commissioners or members of the audience. The second part of this, if you can move the agenda down or up so I can read the second part of the public comments.
Can you move the screen, Octavia?
Okay, right here, which would be where we usually have the comments. And again, the public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person or the time allotted by the chair. There should be no dialogue with the commissioners or members of the audience. This allows for any public comments on any item, whether it be what was voted on or something other than that. But we will know with this process that the voices of the community, of the public, is heard, and it would be heard. It will actually ensure that their voice is heard before a vote, and no matter who the chair is at any given point, whether it be in the committees or in the full body, that chair would have to allow for public comments in the beginning. And I would like Commissioner Dobb to have a few words on this matter. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Dobb. You co-wrote this, so if you have a moment, a couple of words you'd like to say to it.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I think Commissioner Baker McCormick, said it all. I completely support this proposed rule. I think that allowing the public to comment on items that are on the agenda gives us as commissioners an opportunity to hear from our constituents before voting on those issues. And it just makes sense. It's an appropriate time for the public to comment on items that are on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. General comments relating to other matters can be made during the public comment section at the end of the meeting. Many of my local municipalities run their meetings in this fashion, and in my opinion, it flows very well. I think another benefit of doing it this way is that when we have members of the public who come to attend our meetings and they want to express an opinion on something that's on the agenda, they have to sit through an entire meeting that can go for an hour, sometimes longer, only to make their comments after the items have been voted on. So if they are able to come to make their comments, then they can either leave or they can stay and wait for the votes, and that's up to them. It's another convenience for our constituents and an encouragement for the public to participate in their local government. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, I just wanted to piggyback on what Commissioner Dobbs said. I think also the public does not realize that the chair has the option as well to move the public comments around in the agenda. So the public may look at the agenda and say, oh, I can't say anything about anything until the end after they voted. So why even bother to come to this meeting or sit through this meeting, because you would have already voted. So when we put the public comments out into the universe and into the hands of the public, they believe that public comments are on the agenda at the space and time that they're listed on the agenda. And so when they read it, oh, I can't even say anything. The vote will be over. And so what difference does my opinion matter when it's already done? So that's what I wanted to say in reference to that issue.
Okay, thank you both so much. Discussion from the Rules Committee members. Any discussion? I'm looking for virtual hands. And Commissioner Baydun. Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydun.
Madam Chair, I do see the argument or the idea of having the public obviously comment on agenda items before we vote on them. How will this work? Let's say we have 15, 20 items on the agenda, and I'm just thinking this out loud as I'm hearing this. Do we allow the public to speak in the beginning of the meeting on every item before we vote on it from the committee? Let's say the Public Services Committee has 15 items they want to move for approval. Now, let's say we have the public, they want to make comments about those 15 items. Are we going to allow like discussions on every items in the meeting? I'm just thinking out loud here. You have been able to move important items to the top of the agenda, right? And where we allowed the public to speak in the past?
Yes, and a big example is probably when we had the sale of the buildings in the park, and we had quite a number of people who came in to discuss that. They were very passionate on both sides, and I moved public comments to the beginning of the agenda. Because as the chair of the commission and the chairs of the committees, is their purview to move public comments to where it best fits our constituents and the public. So I was able to do that, and I did do that.
Again, I'm thinking out loud here, and I'm looking for guidance from the experienced commissioners like Joey and Basham. What would happen if we just flip it around, or you have the public comments just in the beginning of the meetings and not have a public comments at the end of the meeting? Has that been done? I mean, could that be done? Are we going to allow like public comments in the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting?
Madam
Well, this
Chair, can I respond to that?
to Commissioner Baydun?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Dobb, and then Vice Chair Palomero.
Thank you.
So to answer your first question about for the example of Committee on Public Services, if we at the beginning of the meeting we ask for public comments on any of the items on the agenda for that day, it's very unlikely, I think, that we're going to have a number of people who are going to make a comment on every single item on that agenda. We might have someone come and say, like, hey, I don't support this construction project on this road because of whatever reason. And then that would give us an opportunity to listen to that comment and before we vote on it. And so that's kind of what my vision is of this proposed rule. I don't think we're going to have, people who are commenting, going through each item on the agenda to comment on that before.
To that point, Commissioner, as you know, most of the items that come out of committee, whether it's public safety or public services, we're mostly voting on contracts or things that the public doesn't care about in many cases, like receive and file or other items. I'm just thinking here that, like, with the sale of the parks land, yes, that was a big issue for a lot of people, and we allowed people to speak in the beginning. I don't know what's the legal mechanism to incorporate, and that's where Felicia comes in, on such big important issues where we allow the public to speak in the beginning of the meeting. Issues that we know, I don't know how we can define it in the rules, that issues that are going to be controversial or involves the sale of properties or other items that we know we need the public to offer their input before we vote on it. If there's a legal way of doing it, I don't know. I just don't think having comments in the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, I don't know. I mean, I'm just like on the fence on this. I'm gonna hear what Joey is gonna say and others.
If I could just respond to that, in my opinion, I don't think it's up to us to determine what is important to the public. I think we should open it up for all items that are on the agenda. They are all applicable to all constituents in Wayne County, and I think that every member of the public should have an opportunity to comment on any item that they want to before we vote on them.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I understand. Yeah, good point.
Okay,
And also, I believe
go ahead, Commissioner, real quick, and then Commissioner Palomero. Commissioner Baker McCormick, real quick.
I don't believe that it should be the discretion of whoever the chair is as to what we deem as important to our constituents or to the public. It should be a standard practice that the public knows that we care about what they think before we vote on any of our issues. And also, Commissioner Dobb has been holding her meetings in this format. And so she knows that from experience that the flow of it works, and that she hasn't had any issues or problems with that format, because it does allow those who want to make a comment on the issues, and she can say that in the beginning that these public comments are to address any items. She can say it, doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot have an opinion about or comment about other things, but she can say that this is for comments about this particular issue. If you'd like to address this before we vote, go right ahead. And then they're still allowed to address their opinion towards the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do completely understand the intent of the commissioners who offer this, but I'll also explain why, at least from my perspective, I don't embrace putting it into our permanent rules. I have worked with 5 chairs of the Wayne County Commission since I've been on the commission. I am not aware of one instance where a commissioner requested public comment being moved to the front of the agenda because it made sense, wasn't accommodated. And as you mentioned, you did so when the sale of the mills in Parkland property was brought up because we knew it was going to be contentious. And not only that, you did bifurcate it because you allowed public comment at the beginning before any action items, and then again at the end. And I think if any commissioner makes that request, I'm sure you would accommodate it as all chairs have in the past. As a matter of fact, there was an item up that I knew was going to draw considerable attention from Grozeal at last week's meeting. And I noticed on the agenda as new business, it was going to appear after public comment. And I made a request. I says that it be taken up before public comment because I knew, and there was significant public comment when we eventually got to it, but that could have turned a 2.5-hour meeting into a 6.5-hour meeting because there's some items that everybody just wants to say the same thing, but they want to get their point across, and I get it. But with today's technology, people can communicate to us by email, by text messaging, even by virtual chat. I saw comments come across when items are being taken up in this format. So I have no problem with using our current formula for setting public comment at one time in the meeting and the chair having the discretion with input from other commissioners of moving it to the front or possibly bifurcating it if an item warrants such attention to be moved to the front of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Madam
Commissioner.
Chair.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Again, this public comment change, rule change is not about us as commissioners or about us as the chairs of the committees or of the commission. It is really about the people's voice and letting them know that their voice can be heard early on in the meeting. So if you look at the agenda, a regular everyday citizen, they see our agenda. I invite them to the meeting. You invite them to the meeting. They look at our agenda. They see that the public comments are at the very bottom. So that means, oh, I can't even say anything. I'm here. I don't want to be here all day going through every little item that is being addressed on this at this meeting and sit here for an hour or 2 hours before I can say what I want to say. I can come to this meeting and feel free to make my comments and leave rather than wait to the end. So again, this isn't about us. This is about making sure and ensuring that the public has the ability to make a comment without feeling like they have to wait to the very end of the meeting and that their vote or our vote will be taken before they can make their comments, because again, they may not know that the chair can move the public comments minutes around, or public comments around on the agenda. They look at it and they see it and they say public comments at the end. You know what? Forget it. I'm not going to sit through that meeting. So that's really what this is about. is about the public having their voice heard early on in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a lot of discussion about this item 2 years ago, and Felicia did some research on what other large bodies like us did. And the only other large body I can think of similar to ours would be either Oakland County Commission or the Detroit City Council. Felicia, do you happen to have, just as an example, any documents on what either one of those boards do? And I know I'm putting you on the spot because I know you did it last time, but I don't know if you have it with you now.
Through the chair, I do not have those specific documents with me. They're unfortunately in the office, but I will tell you that based on what we reviewed back in 2019, we found very few bodies, and I don't think actually we found anybody that actually had public comment on the agenda twice. Public comments appear in different areas on agendas. There was not a specific formula or consistency across the board with most of the communities. But public comments did not appear twice.
Okay, and that's very important to note. In most public bodies, almost all public bodies, it doesn't appear twice. So the question is, I guess, for us, do we want to keep them where they are at the end of the meeting or have them at the beginning of the meeting?
And Madam Chair, can I ask one question as well?
Sure.
What harm does it do? What harm does it cause to have public comments at the beginning and then public comments at the end? What harm?
Sure. Go ahead, Felicia.
So from my perspective, and again, this is something I would have to further research. Part of the concern would be right now we're suggesting that we limit public comments, for example, to agenda items at the beginning and to other items at the end. I think that practically when you're in the middle of a meeting, that becomes very difficult to do. In addition, I think you'll have a lot of situations where you may have someone wanting to speak twice. I think from a legal perspective, it'll be very difficult to say to someone, well, you did have an opportunity to speak at the beginning and now you can't speak at the end. I do think that there are some potential legal concerns there with regards to limiting topics and then limiting someone's ability to speak twice when it's on your agenda twice. So those would be, from my perspective, those would be two potential concerns.
Right, and I mentioned the limit, and when I mentioned that earlier about someone wanting to have comments about an issue that we were voting on before we vote on it, we can not say that they can't make a comment about anything else at the end or the beginning. We just can direct or the chair can direct them as to, well, this public comments are really based on the issues that we're about to vote on. You can allow for other additional comments if you want towards the end. So we're not going to limit them in what they can say in their public comments.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The commissioner has made her point. It's a valid point. And if somebody on the Rules Committee does support that notion, I think they should offer a motion at this time. And if no one does, then we'll just see what happens if someone offers a motion to move that item.
Okay. And I'll just say, I understand the commissioner's point, but we've been operating under this format as long as I've been on, and it has not been a problem. I've never had a constituent or a body come to me and say, the way you do your public comments is offensive or upsetting to me. And I think having what Commissioner Dobb does in her committee meeting is valid, and all chairs have that option. But to make a move like this, which has been in place for over 30 years and it has not caused any harm, and having the competent chairs that we've had over the last 30 years who have more than willing been able to move public comments around depending on the issues that come before this body, I'm almost to the mind that if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? And I don't see it as being broken. So at this moment, I will entertain.
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, let me ask a question.
Yes.
Okay, just to address the concerns of the constituents, the Wayne County residents and the commissioners, Commissioner Dobb and Commissioner Baker McCormick. Is it stated anywhere in the procedures and the rules here that the chairperson may allow a commissioner to request public comments on any specific items to be brought to the beginning of the agenda? Is it stated anywhere in our rules, or this is something discretionary? It's up to the chairperson.
Discretionary.
And may I add to that, Madam Chair?
Yes.
And if the clerk can just go up slightly. So if you look at the call of order for the agenda, that very first sentence says that this is the order of business unless otherwise ordered by the chairperson. So not only is it within the discretion of the chair generally, there is a sentence in here that clearly specifies in the rules, again, if the clerk can go up slightly, that says that the chairperson has discretion, Commissioner.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I see their points, but at the same time, this has worked, and I did see it where other important items were brought to the beginning of the agenda, and we had public comments, and I don't know. It's Commissioner Basham, I'd like to hear your opinion.
Well, I'm listening to all of it, still trying to make up my mind, but I think we have people pay attention, want to be heard. I think they can do that right now. I think the chair has some discretion. I think all chairs have used that discretion. So I'm sort of agreeing that where we're at right now sort of is it works for me. So I don't think we need to, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay, Commissioner Varga.
I have a problem telling people that they cannot talk on certain issues. My problem is with, you can only speak on these particular agenda items, because other people will say, well, I can't wait till the end either, so I want to talk now. So I think we should only have one. Positioning it is a different story, where we put the one public comment.
I mean, I agree with you. There should be only one segment allotted for public comments, whether at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting. I see the point for having it at the beginning of the meeting. It's very important for people to voice their opinion before we vote on any items. I completely get that, and I agree with it. So I don't know, maybe we can just have the public comments in the beginning of the meeting, but not at the end as well. Just give the opportunity for people to speak in the beginning of the meeting. And I don't know where you put it in the beginning of the meeting. We have, like invocations and other things where before we start voting, I guess, on items on the agenda, you could probably put it there, but not at the end. Also, only one segment of time would be allotted. I don't know your thoughts, Commissioner Palomera, Commissioner Basham, and Chairwoman. I don't know what your thoughts are on just having one segment of allotted time, given to public comments
And to
in the
finish
beginning
my
of the
thought,
meeting.
Go ahead, Commissioner Varga.
to finish my thought, these rules are only for the 2 years, and we now know who the chairwoman is for the next 2 years. So we know that we can all work with her, and she will move them up on the agenda. So I have no problems with that at all, because every 2 years we change it. If we have a chair, God forbid, that we need more stricter guidelines for her or him to run the meeting, that's different. But we're only doing this for the 2 years that she's going to be chair, 2 years at a time.
Madam
So
Chair.
that's my thought. I think she's been very, very good in limit, allowing us to move any items up if we want to also make presentations to make sure that she moves it right to the front. So I think she's been very lenient with us on that. So I'm finished now, so you can go on to someone else.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner
Madam Chair.
Basham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we have it, just so colleagues remember, if we have the public comments at the end of the commission meeting, we still have a right as a commission to reconsider. So, I mean, if there's an item and somebody from the public has commented, even though you don't go back and forth, we have a right to make a motion to reconsider the item. So, I mean, so if commissioners want to, they felt that somebody from the public's made a comment that would change their mind or something that we should have another vote on, we can actually have a motion to reconsider. So we have that right.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Commissioner Varga that we have a competent chair at this point in time. However, I am concerned in the future, as we deal with the concerns of our former elected leader, I'll put it that way, that did a lot of things that a lot of people, a lot of voters did not agree with. We could potentially have a chair that abuse this power, okay? And so this really would talk to any future issues that we could have. In addition, I know that I have addressed the commission in the past, personally came to the commission to address an issue that was already voted on. So I totally understand what the public feels when they come to a public body to speak about something that should have been addressed before the vote was cast. So, this is kind of personal to me, and I understand that if you've never experienced it, you won't understand having your voice heard too late where you can't make a statement or an impact on the vote because you weren't allowed to speak. So this has actually happened to me at this body, this commission, before I became a commissioner. So I come from experience and understand exactly what that feels like. So I just want to say that it's nothing against this body, this chair. I believe that we all would do the right thing, but it's a problem when you don't have that person there to do the right thing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question to Felicia. To that point, the fear of a chairwoman or a chairperson or a chairman abusing his or her power. Let's say we are in the middle of a term and we feel that this chairperson is abusing his or her power and we need to make a change. What's the procedure? What's the protocol? Do we call for a special rules meeting, all the commissioners, and make changes in the middle of a term? Is that possible, Felicia?
Through the chair, yes, it is possible to revise these rules at any point in time. The rules do provide for members of the body being able to call meetings over the objection of a chair. It takes 3 commissioners, so there is rules that address and allow for potential meetings and then potential changes without the chair's participation, I guess I'll say.
Okay, well, I guess that answers my question. I'm content with the way Chairwoman is running the meetings, Chair Bell. If we get an abusive chairperson in the future, I guess we have a way of changing the rules.
And I will let everyone know, I think it was already stated that these rules are good for 2 years. And let's say
Yeah.
in 2 years' time, circumstances reveal themselves that some changes need to be made with where public comments are done and how they're done and where they're placed. We revisit this every 2 years. So, you know, it's not like this is here forever. It's revisited every 2 years when we have a new term. So I think because it's revisited every 2 years, that can give us time to reflect and see how it worked the prior 2 years. And if it does become problematic, we can certainly review it again and vote to see if it's something that needs to be changed.
And one more final comment from me,
Yes.
Madam Chair. I mean, I urge all the commissioners, not just Baker, McCormick, and Dobb, if there's an important item on the agenda and they feel, whoever the commissioner is, they feel that their constituents in that district, they want to be heard in the beginning before we meet on this, I urge them to request from the chairperson to move that item up on the agenda and allow for public comments in the beginning of the meeting. I mean, I'm confident in asking Chairwoman to move an item if I feel that we need to discuss it before we vote on it. That's just my thought also.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, any further discussion on this suggested rule change? Any further discussion? Is there a motion to move this forward? Is there a motion to move this rule change forward? Okay, hearing none, this is not moving forward. So both, we've had 2 rule changes. One was withdrawn or proposed rule changes, one was withdrawn and one dies for lack of a motion. And the changes that the council made was moved and will be forwarded to full board. Next item on the agenda.
Such other matters as may properly be submitted before the committee.
Is there any such other matters? Any such other matters? No such other matters, but let me go back. I just want to thank Commissioner Baker McCormick and Commissioner Dobb and Commissioner Varga for submitting those proposed rule changes. I like the fact that this body, we can discuss things in a professional manner. We agree, we disagree, but it's always great to have discussion and to propose things that we think will move this body in a better direction. But just thank you for your input and being concerned about how we operate. I think that's one of the things I love about this body, that we have great commissioners that provide great input. And I say that please continue to supply great input to this body, because all of our opinions are important. So thank you for bringing those items to us. Next item on the agenda.
Public comments.
Anyone from the public wishing to address the Rules Committee? Anyone from the public wishing to address the Rules Committee? Hearing none, next item.
Adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Aye, meeting adjourned. Thank you all. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
You too.